Late at night, water rushed into my house and I headed straight to the bedroom. When I walked in, I saw my ex-girlfriend cold and seductive. What, did she really come to save me? What the hell was going on here and why was she even in my house? It looked like she was planning to escape. However, she stopped me and then came closer, intending to leave. Meanwhile, I had already fallen asleep in the middle of the night. Water dripped onto my face, forcing me to wipe it with a towel and turn on the light. I saw a huge leak on the ceiling, the third one this month, and all for the sake of saving money. I rented an apartment right under the roof in an old neighborhood, but other than the low rent, it had few advantages, and after the landlord reported a leak. My rich friend Du Zeitung just bought an apartment here thanks to the help of his family. Having crossed the threshold, I immediately went to the bathroom in my pajamas. After washing the clothes and putting them away in the closet, I just lay down on the bed and immediately felt something was wrong. There was someone next to me. Shouldn't the owner sleep in the master bedroom? Why was someone sleeping in the guest room? I was so bored and anxious that I turned and put my hand on my brother's shoulder, but the touch almost made my heart stop. Has he really neglected the gym that much? Why were his muscles so soft and tender and so incredibly pleasant to the touch? And since when do guys get such stomach aches from bed? Would you believe it? I was genuinely surprised. Suddenly an icy voice came from above. Jiang Zaiabai. You really tried to seduce me. The voice sounded vaguely familiar to me. I flicked the switch in alarm, flooding the room with bright light and seeing the beautiful face of my ex. I tried to hide under the blanket, but after covering my head, I suddenly realized that Lin Wanyu, being a grown woman, had come here wearing only a sleeping bag. In a hurry, I rushed to give him the blanket. I was about to run away, but Lin Wanyu turned me around with a sharp movement, laid me back on the bed, and tried to force me to stay. Jiang Zaiabai, do you really think I'm a good person? What are you even planning to do? He demanded indignantly. Lin Wanyu could barely contain his anger, but even as he gritted his teeth in anger, he maintained his flawless face. If you want to teach me a lesson, you can consider me dead, I said and closed my eyes tightly. Lin Wanyu just laughed, sorry, I'm no longer interested in you, before trying to get up and leave. However, his legs, entangled in the blanket, failed him, and the next second he ran into me and his soft lips cut off my words with a sweep. Zaiabai, your roof is leaking again. Du Zeitung's voice rang out as he opened the door despite his sore throat and stomach ache. Seeing the picture in front of him, he was dumbfounded, and the reaction did not follow immediately. Sorry to interrupt, go on, he blurted out and ran away. No, Zeitung, you've got it all wrong, I tried to justify myself. Half an hour later, I was already sitting on Lin Wanyu's back. Or rather, now everything was happening under Du Zeitung's supervision in the dead of night. Du Zeitung couldn't sleep. He grabbed the headboard and stared at me. Look at me carefully. She's my sister, my own sister. I was stunned. What, isn't that so? Previously, I was used to seeing Du Zeitung surrounded by completely different people. Lin Wanyu's beautiful yet cold face flashed through my mind, and I shook my head heavily. They're completely different. Is she prettier or am I? Du Zeitung immediately responded, his anger instantly turning to mercy. Of course wait a minute. I was taken aback, barely dodging an unexpected slap from my friend who had just come to his senses. Okay, tell me honestly what's going on between you and my sister, he demanded answers. What's wrong with that? You showed up at my place unannounced and that's how you got this picture, come on. Du Zeitung of course didn't believe me. My sister is far from a soft person. If any other guy had tried to come in to see her, he'd have been pinned to the wall so tightly that there wouldn't have been a wet spot left. I tried to justify myself, knowing I'd have to tell the truth. Unless it's that hater, okay, I admit she's my ex-girlfriend. Hearing this, Du Zeitung was taken aback. Why, I have no idea. We broke up back in college, and I met Du Zeitung after I got a job. While we were reminiscing, Du Zeitung grabbed his head and said in a stunned voice, Oh my god, so you're my sister's ex. We just broke up. Did I really almost start dating my sister's ex? I was a little confused. What other half of life? We broke up a long time ago. Is she really still unhappy? Du Zeitung's expression darkened even more. Are you breeding mosquitoes here? What kind of nonsense are you even talking about? You just don't know what my sister was like before. She was always exceptionally diligent. That day, the door was tightly closed, and the man found himself completely cut off from the world, after which it took several long months to recover. It's just that now it's become much more difficult to find a common language with her than in the days when we studied together. Everyone around knew Lin Wanyu as the unapproachable ice goddess. Despite the fleeting nature of our contact, I clearly felt that she had become even colder than before, but I never expected that I myself was the cause of this. Ziobai, how did you manage to break up with my sister? Du Zaiting's shining eyes were filled with excitement. It was actually quite simple. That day, I invited him to the movies and he said he was busy. So I dumped him right after the movie and all I heard in response was a dry I recalled sadly. Du Zaiting even raised his eyebrows in surprise. That's it, that simple, I just nodded silently in response. Could Zaiting really let his sister break up with her boyfriend so easily? My suspicions were immediately confirmed. He shook his head furiously. No way. My sister has never dated anyone before, especially someone like you, he continued, going over the gossip for a while longer. Soon he lay down on the bed and fell into the deepest sleep, and I lay down next to him. However, I couldn't fall asleep because all my thoughts were about Lin Wanyu. She was always the center of attention, impeccable appearance, excellent grades, and the status of an unapproachable girl, which many guys sighed about, including me. I sought her favor longer than all the other competitors, going all the way from the first to the fourth year. At the end of my fourth year, I finally managed to melt the heart of this proud beauty, but even after she agreed to date me, she remained just as cold and distant. It was as if there was no difference between me and those around me, and it seemed as if she had no feelings for me at all. Seeing such coldness, I wanted more and more to break through this wall and get closer to her, but all attempts were met with a blank wall. My passionate outbursts were invariably met with her icy indifference, and over time, I simply grew tired. That's why, after that ill-fated trip to the cinema, I realized we were no longer on the same page. I decided to break up with him. His reaction was extremely simple. He responded with just one short, "Okay," after which I got bitterly drunk. I thought that Lin Wanyu would breathe a sigh of relief and become free without me, but Du Zaiting's words about how he also had a hard time dealing with the breakup made me wonder, could it be that Lin Wanyu really? Like me, deep in her cold heart, there still glimmered a spark which soon died down, no matter what was happening around her. A whole year has passed since then, and all those memories, whether I like it or not, are a distant memory. Waking up the next morning, I discovered that Du Zaiting had already disappeared somewhere. He had been head over heels in love lately, always disappearing on dates and returning home after midnight. I headed to the bathroom to wash up, coughing heavily as I went. Throwing open the door, I was stunned. Standing before me was a man who had just taken a bath, his body shining like pure gold. What was going on here? I blinked in confusion. My eyes widened to see Lin Wanyu frozen in place, glaring at me. "Zhang Xiaobai, you seduced me yesterday. And today I decided to take a look again, and completely by accident, I fell right into this awkward trap. Damn it, I managed to catch Lin Wanyu taking his morning shower. Sorry, I was at the wrong door," I blurted out, turned sharply, and ran away. But Lin Wanyu instantly grabbed me by the scruff of the neck. "You're confusing things again. Do you think I'll believe that, even though it sounds crazy? But since when did you start showering so late? I mean, early in the morning. I bet you timed it just right and decided to touch me," Lin Wanyu drawled with a sly grin. "I even went to the bathroom this morning because of you. What does this have to do with me?" I protested, but as soon as I opened my mouth, as Lin Wanyu lowered his voice, a dangerous edge of steel pierced his tone. "Don't think I've forgotten who sneaked into my guest room last night. I hadn't slept a wink all night. I was cold while I slept, and now my voice was hoarse from the cold that was coming on. Hot breath burned my ear, causing me to blush deeply, and the realization of the piquancy of the situation made me run to the shower in panic. Not daring to look up at Lin Wanyu, I waited for an opportune moment and quickly retreated. Returning to my rented apartment, my heart was still pounding. Just then, the landlord showed up and demanded urgent repairs. He claimed that the water that flooded the apartment the night before was the result of yesterday's heavy rain. What difference did it make where the water came from? The main thing was that it was already leaking in several places, and it was no longer possible to stay here. A whole month passed before my new bed finally arrived. Once the owner and I finished assembling and setting it up, I sighed heavily. If the ceiling continues to leak like this, I really will have to pack my things and move out. There was no time for long reflection. The whole day was spent on general cleaning. Only in the evening did I find a free moment, and I sat down at my desk to work on another design project. At that very moment, the phone rang. Du Zeitung was on the line. Xiaobai, where have you disappeared to again? Why don't you just move in with me and stop worrying about my sister? She only spent the night at your place because there was temporarily no power or water in her new neighborhood. If my aunt mentioned cleaning her apartment again, she would move out that same day. It's okay, Zeitung, I can handle this just fine. I tried to wave him off, but he continued to insist. I could only plan a move after I was sure the roof was no longer leaking. After hanging up, I felt a strange warmth in my soul. I met Du Zeitung at my previous job where we were initially just colleagues. We discovered we shared similar interests and a common outlook on life, so we quickly became friends and became inseparable brothers. Not long ago, due to the envy of their former management, they faced pressure and decided to quit, having come to the conclusion that working off their uncle's neck was no longer worth it. We joined forces and started our own business. While Du Zeitung was busy looking for orders and entertaining himself, preparing in advance to inherit the family business, I put my old experience to use. Over the course of a year of work, I had built up a decent client base, so I had plenty of orders. I spent whole days working on drawings and models, which often led to me staying up late. This time I worked until 2 o'clock in the morning and was falling off my feet from fatigue. A sharp attack of my morning cold and the familiar sound of dripping water brought me out of my reverie. Damn it, the ceiling was leaking again. I instantly jumped up and grabbed the empty basin. Placing it right on the bed to catch the drips, I quickly dragged the blankets and mattress to safety, sighing heavily in despair. On the one hand, I felt terrible, but on the other, it was incredibly strange. Should I be happy? At least this time I didn't fall flat on my face, and now I could slowly savor this moment. What should I do? It seemed the only option was to run to Du Zeitung again. After all, he'd assured me Lin Wanyu would only be there for a day. With luck, we wouldn't even run into each other. With these thoughts in mind, I ran as fast as I could to the neighboring district. Having reached the place, I was about to collapse and sleep right in the corridor. But when my hand rested on the doorknob, I noticed that the bedroom door was tightly closed again, just like last night. If there is no one in the room, the door is usually left open, at least for ventilation. Deciding not to pry into that room, I headed straight for Du Zeitung's master bedroom. Stepping over the threshold, I felt for the bed and in the darkness brushed my hand against someone, but the next second, what the hell was happening to me? This soft curve of her body and the painfully familiar touch. I flicked the switch, of course. There was Lin Wanyu in front of me again. This time I decided to seize the initiative and spoke first. Why are you here again? Isn't this Du Zeitung's room? Are you conspiring to stalk me? Zhang Xiaobai, are you kidding me? We just bumped into each other again and you're playing dumb again, she snapped coldly. Your perpetually surprised look just drives me crazy. Do you think I enjoy playing the good girl here? Remembering our student years, when I looked at this face day after day, I suddenly stopped short. Lin Wanyu's voice was quiet. I fell silent, feeling my face flush and rubbed my nose in embarrassment. Recalling the past was incredibly awkward. Trying to rectify the situation, I decided to go to Du Zeitung's room, but the door to his room was locked. Lin Wanyu followed, and we both tried to open the door, but to no avail. You weren't even looking at me and the door was working perfectly. Why would it suddenly jam? It looks like you staged the whole thing, I blurted out. Yes, judging from the outside, I looked like a real paranoid person. Of course, it was simply impossible to convey in words the absurdity of the situation and your unearthly beauty. But you have to admit there are too many coincidences. Has my brain simply gone crazy from lack of sleep? Although it all sounds more than logical. You're completely out of your mind, Lin Wanyu rolled her eyes. I got furious and started making all sorts of indignant comments, gesturing wildly with my hands and trying to win her over. Why did you even bother going into Du Zeitung's room? Don't tell me you were waiting for me to get the wrong door again, she said with a sly half-smile on her lips. That same cold, trademark sparkle from childhood flashed in her gaze. Could she have been right? Fearing that Lin Wanyu would cut me again, I fled to the guest room. Lin Wanyu, afraid that I would show up again, locked herself in the master bedroom. We both ended up locked in the same room, and that's just a clinical diagnosis. And who's to blame for this? Our mutual hapless friend Du Zeitung, of course. Didn't he swear his sister had moved out? I immediately grabbed the phone to tell him everything. Let him open the door immediately and let me out of here. However, the call ended on its own. Du Zeitung didn't even think to answer. To my delight, that brat always turns off his phone when he sleeps. And he sleeps sounder than any dead person, not even an earthquake can wake him. I could only turn dejectedly to look at Lin Wanyu, who clearly had no intention of leaving. But I noticed that Lin Wanyu had already settled comfortably on the bed. Oh well, he knew perfectly well that I wouldn't be able to contact Du Zaiting. And although she pretended to be fast asleep, she was quite clever. She must have calculated my every move. Indeed, Lin Wanyu demonstratively turned away from me. She clearly had no intention of giving up the bed to me. Well, if that's the case, then I won't stand on ceremony either. Throwing off the blanket, I fell right onto her mattress, instantly feeling the pleasant warmth of someone else's body through the fabric. Our skins touched, and the temperature under the blanket began to rise rapidly. Images of this morning's shower immediately flashed through my mind, making my cheeks flush even more. I knew that if I didn't pull myself together quickly, this wouldn't end well. Of course, Lin Wanyu would look at me like I was a complete idiot, but I definitely wasn't going to sleep on the cold floor. Step by step, I approached her, stretched out my hand, and unceremoniously touched her soft waist. I had a gut feeling that if I really angered her now, she would definitely lose it and run away. Lin Wanyu's body tensed to the limit, but she remained stoically silent. Feeling like a winner and already about to continue my crazy experiments, I suddenly felt her grab my wrist with a death grip. "Zhang Xiaobai, you're doing this on purpose," she exhaled, and there was so much bitter resentment in her voice that everything inside me turned upside down. "Yes, this time I really did it on purpose. So what, you're not really going to eat me, are you? I've been acting like that dead pig for a long time now who has nothing to fear from boiling water." In short, the situation was now completely different. Either Lin Wanyu would finally admit that she cared about me, or we would have to continue sharing this damn bed. Or one of us will go sleep on the floor, but only after I finally fall asleep. Finally, Lin Wanyu unclenched her fingers, stood up abruptly from the bed, pulled out a spare blanket from the closet, and threw it directly onto the floor. "I'd rather lie here than share a bed with you." I was overwhelmed with both disappointment and shock. Could it really be that this proud, touchy creature had chosen to sleep on the hard floor rather than be near me? But I didn't dwell on it for long. Sleeping on the luxuriously soft bed was incredibly comfortable, and soon I fell into a sweet sleep. And when I opened my eyes the next morning, then I was surprised to discover that my soft feather bed had somehow become incredibly hard. Right before my eyes, Lin Wanyu's beautiful face appeared, magnified tenfold. Yes, I knew perfectly well that I was acting restless in my dream. But I never expected that I would manage to roll out of bed and land on the floor with my stomach right on top of the sleeping Lin Wanyu. It was necessary to urgently escape from this ill-fated pillow before she came to her senses. But thanks to his lightning-fast reaction, Lin Wanyu had already opened his eyes, and I became truly scared. "I'm moving, he'll definitely wake up the very first second. I must admit, I've been orchestrating this whole thing, pretending it was my own spontaneous decision. I can appreciate the scale of the change. When Lin Wanyu opened her eyes, I was terribly angry. I was indignant that she had pulled me off the bed, but as I thought about it, I couldn't tear my eyes away from her face. Her features were flawless, her lines were clear, and her skin was incredibly fair. Even from a short distance, I couldn't find a single flaw. Her lips looked stunning, sensual, and enticing. I couldn't help but swallow quietly. I raised my head and lightly touched Lin Wanyu's lips. "Sister, are you sick by any chance?" "Why haven't you gotten up yet?" came the voice of someone with a constant stomach ache from outside. I was so surprised that I immediately started a playful wrestling match with Lin Wanyu. I desperately wanted to jump to my feet immediately. However, the very next moment, I found myself in the same trap as Lin Wanyu. The blanket was tightly wrapped around us from the waist up, allowing me to only slightly rise. I playfully nudged Lin Wanyu. "Sister, I'll come in if you don't answer right now. Honestly, I'm in a hurry." I desperately tried to untangle the damned blanket, but the more I fussed, the more tangled I became. At that very moment, Du Zaiting suddenly swung the door open. A vision appeared before his eyes, Lin Wanyu and I, literally rolling on the floor, our clothes and bedding all twisted. His face reflected classic adolescent confusion. After uttering a strong word in the local dialect, he said in a stunned voice, "Oh my God, are you that carried away? Oh, I'm so sorry," and retreated with incredible speed. "Wait, Du Zaiting," I howled silently. I reached for the door but could only watch helplessly as it closed again. My fingers hung limply in the air, and I sighed heavily. I had to bury my face in Lin Wanyu's chest again, as his muffled voice echoed somewhere above me. I wasn't actually planning on getting up. Are you trying to push me out? I was just starting to come to my senses. The memory of the broken can came to mind, but I still had to get up. If you want to get up, how can I do it while you're holding me in your arms? Lin Wanyu gritted his teeth. That's it, I don't care anymore. Who would have known that this guy would be even more stubborn than me? I like it myself, okay, forget it. I give in, admit defeat, and stay in Lin Wanyu's room. Experiencing new bouts of nausea, I finally unzipped this insidious blanket cocoon. I somehow raised myself up and was about to leave, but I noticed that Lin Wanyu had frozen in his previous pose. Maybe you should, although I'm not particularly insisting, okay, let's move on. My left arm was completely numb. I tried to stand up using it as leverage, but my right arm hung limply at my side. I barely moved my fingers, making the slightest movement. And then my mind was carried away back to that student summer, where there was something else besides classes. Lin Wanyu's favorite place was the library. As for me, spending entire days there seemed like pure torture, but as soon as I looked at Lin Wanyu's concentrated face, all my fatigue evaporated without a trace. That's how it was. I spent every minute with Lin Wanyu. When I read, she read, and when I fell asleep, she continued turning the pages. Several times, I fell asleep right there in Lin Wanyu's arms. When I woke up, I usually shook her. Let's go. She understood without words. Just a second, and a couple of minutes later she got up. She held a book in one hand and performed some familiar movement with the other. Only now did it dawn on me what exactly she was doing. I held her hand in mine for hours on end, practically wearing it out, but she didn't utter a single complaint. I didn't even notice at first. It just seemed like he wasn't treating me very well. After all, what's wrong with keeping an eye on me sometimes? Noticing that my companion Lin Wanyu had finally stirred, I also turned around abruptly and walked out of the bedroom. After washing up, Lin Wanyu left and Du Zaiting smirked as he patted me on the shoulder. Oh great Xiaobai. I'm always worried about your future son-in-law. What if they have trouble finding common ground? But since we're talking about you, I have nothing to worry about. Actually, I'm still worried. Zidu, you still haven't explained anything properly, Du Zaiting called after her. Okay, you don't have to answer, I get it, he added, picking up his bag. I sat there speechless. What do you even know? Away, I could only sigh heavily. Returning to the rented apartment, I found the owner himself at a loss. Young man, I'll give you back the rest of the rent. I'm always fair, but that's just enough money to fix the roof, okay? I desperately needed to change my place of residence, but the prices in the city are no joke. Eventually, I found an option very close to Du Zaiting. True, I wasn't planning on living together. I value our relationship and don't want to ruin it with everyday life. After contacting a realtor, I went to view the property. It turned out to be a good option, and the agent personally gave me a tour. Studios were relatively inexpensive. Who would have thought that right while I was viewing the apartment, I'd bump into Du Zaiting with a girl hanging around him. Fair skin, designer clothes, a stark contrast to Du Zaiting's simple wardrobe. It was obvious from a mile away, his close friend. Me, on the other hand. Noticing me, he suddenly raised his head. Oh, Jiang Xiaobai, you're living in the middle of nowhere instead of renting a decent place near me. I actually wanted to be friends with you. There was genuine anger in his voice and his tone was quite harsh, but the sincere, youthful expression on his face made it seem anything but frightening, more like a childish resentment. He came over and put a military arm around my shoulder. Looking at how he was trying to hide his excitement, for some reason I felt embarrassed for him. I quickly changed the subject. Who is this? Don't you want to introduce the lady yourself? At that moment, Wen Yan's previous pains instantly returned. He clutched his chest, blushed deeply, and with difficulty squeezed out his first words. This is my girlfriend Li Xia. Allow me to formally introduce her. And this is my best bro, Jiang Xiaobai, he introduced me. Hello, Li Xia smiled politely. I looked around. The apartment really was nice and the price was reasonable. Xia, why don't you rent this one then? Du Zaiting suggested. To which Li Xia replied, if your brother needs her so much, I'll give her to him first and look for someone else for myself. I'm in no rush, I live in my own house anyway. Du Zaiting can clearly hear the sound of hammering. I'm trying my best to find him a decent place to live, but he's still stubborn. That's why I didn't want to settle here in the first place. I have no choice but to save up money first as his birthday is coming up. I've already found him a watch from his favorite brand, but Du Zaiting still wants to move in with Li Xia. I flatly refuse. Jiang Liwei still has a lot of time ahead of him to finally grow up. Taking advantage of the moment, I pressed him into helping me move like some kind of worker, and here comes the sea. They seem like two ordinary villages in the middle of nowhere, but the contrast is striking. One is dilapidated and abandoned, while the neighboring one is wealthy and well-maintained. And they're located very close to each other, despite there being almost nothing around. I don't need a car at all, okay? Besides, moving companies are incredibly expensive and completely unjustifiable. Jiang Liwei and I can handle it together. Each of us was lugging a suitcase and a huge plaid duffel bag, stopping every now and then to grab a bite to eat. Finally reaching our new home, we collapsed exhausted on the floor. My body was pierced by extreme fatigue, aches, and dizziness. Throwing my head back toward the ceiling, I suddenly felt a strange warmth right before my eyes. Lin Wanyu's face froze as if he were looking through my eyes. I squeezed my eyes shut, then opened them again. The image didn't disappear, but became even clearer. It really was Lin Wanyu. Why on earth would he show up here in broad daylight? I sat up abruptly. At that moment, Lin Wanyu instinctively covered his chin with his hand. Gritting his teeth until they hurt, he said in a barely audible voice, "This Jiang Xiaobai is literally seducing me. He'll drive me to the grave any minute now." Jiang Liwei was still hanging around, testing my patience with his antics until I finally gave him a light slap. After apologizing to him, I headed into the room and pulled out a folder of documents. Before leaving, I cast a hard glance at Jiang Liwei. Knocking on the door, I found it locked again, and Jiang Liwei merely gestured with annoyance. "Xiaobai, why do I feel like that woman's gaze just now almost knocked me off my feet? Can you explain it, or not?" Jiang Liwei continued to press. "How was I supposed to know if no one warned me? You'd better help me get everything together quickly," I muttered as I dragged the bag inside, and Jiang Liwei instantly froze. Pointing his finger at the very room where I was, he squeezed out, "Xiaobai, did you live under the same roof with that girl?" "What the hell is going on here?" I flushed with surprise, realizing the reason. Lin Wanyu was simply leaving the bedroom to get something. Even though Du Zaiting assured me that Lin Wanyu was just passing through, I'm still worried. I need to call Du Zaiting immediately and sort this out. "Don't panic, Xiaobai. I won't even ask my sister. She went home today." "Are you sure? You said the same thing last time and I ended up falling into a trap myself. This time, I swear, you can believe it or not," after Du Zaiting's assurances. I finally managed to exhale and sank to the floor. After taking a short rest from my efforts with Jiang Liwei, I handed him a bottle of water. Feeling completely exhausted, I took a couple of sips myself. That bottle of water literally saved me, bringing me back to my senses. "Okay, I'll make us each a bowl of instant noodles with sausages," I thought. Having satisfied Li Wei's appetite, I went to the kitchen and whipped up 2 servings of noodles. Then my phone rang, and there was absolutely no time left for dinner. I had to rush out in the middle of it. In the end, I got both servings of noodles. I have to admit, the atmosphere here is damn good. Inspiration for new designs is just flowing. I sat at work all day. Waking up in a relaxed state, I washed my face, stayed in my pajamas, settled down on the living room sofa with a piece of watermelon, and turned on an entertainment show, feeling quite content. At that moment, the front door slammed. "Jiting, are you back? Come on, sit down and watch TV." Turning my head towards the sound, I continued to glance at the screen and even felt Du Zaiting sit down next to me. Scooping up a large spoonful of juicy watermelon, I tasted a piece, sweet, and handed the spoon to Du Zaiting. But the next moment, I was surprised to discover it wasn't him sitting next to me, but Lin Wanyu. In that same second, the watermelon from my spoon was already in Lin Wanyu's mouth. Noticing my stunned expression, his eyes widened as if to say, "Open your mouth and finish it." I automatically used the same spoon. My brain instantly became clouded with confusion. What the hell are you even doing here? Didn't Du Zaiting say you were settling into his house? Lin Wanyu's morals haven't changed at all. However, even in luxury residential complexes costing tens of thousands of yuan, roofs leak just as easily. Du Zaiting is my brother, but he's the same for Lin Wanyu. Either way, I can't throw him out. "You have to set some rules. Let's agree on this. I'll take the second bedroom and you'll take the master bedroom, and no uninvited guests will be allowed into each other's rooms at night." The protective veil in my eyes allowed me to curb Lin Wanyu's inner turmoil. The main condition, promise me you won't have any more strange dreams. Of course not, came the reply, after Lin Wanyu appeared. I didn't linger in the living room but returned to the bedroom, collapsed on the bed and stared at the phone screen. As I was about to finish eating the watermelon, I instinctively put down the very spoon that Lin Wanyu had just used. As if under some otherworldly spell, I picked it up again and took a bite. My heart started pounding like crazy, though I'm not one to dwell on such trifles. Hey. Why the hell am I acting like a complete pervert? Okay, I'll finish watching the show and go to bed. Our shared student chat suddenly came alive. Noticing several notifications mentioning my name, I immediately clicked on them. It had been almost 6 months since graduation. Guys, would you like to get together for a class reunion? The most agile was Wang Fugui, who had been getting everyone going even at the institute. But the moment the name of our unapproachable goddess, Lin Wanyu, came up in the discussion, the others immediately took up the initiative. Oh yes, if Lin herself comes to the party, this party will be a great success. Naturally, her classmates were wild with delight at the mere mention of her name, eagerly awaiting her arrival, even back in their student days. Lin Wanyu was the absolute star of the show. Her appearance, her background, and her abilities were all at a height unattainable for others. No one could compete with her, but she immediately snapped in the chat, "I'm not coming this time." It seemed completely impossible to convince her otherwise. The group chat's expectations have long since evaporated, and now all that remains of its former activity is a quiet rustling of messages, which I glance at with a slight grin. The few acquaintances who had scattered to other cities would hardly find time to come, and I myself, after receiving my diploma, had no illusions about grand meetings. Most of the guys are from the south, so gathering them all in one place is an impossible task. Besides, I myself have plans to recruit a team of about 10 people to work at sea. All that remains is to approve the final list. While I was thinking about this, Wang Fugui suddenly became active in the general chat. "How many years, how many winters, let's all get together," he cheerfully intones, and the others join in, noisily supporting the idea. "Zayaba, you're by the sea now, so excuses won't be accepted." The messages pour in, although behind this ostentatious enthusiasm lies only the usual desire to show off in front of each other. When someone writes to me personally, I prefer not to react emotionally, only occasionally throwing out the usual "long time no see" to the class president. Someone writes back saying they've just returned to town, like, okay, I'll just drop by for a drink, and so, unnoticed, the day of the alumni reunion arrives. I got there on a regular bus, while Wang Fugui spared no expense and rented an entire room in a fashionable 5-star restaurant, which was currently experiencing a real rush. Stepping over the threshold of the spacious room, I found about half a dozen classmates already swarming around the main organizer. Fugui, with the air of a know-it-all, was spouting off another batch of fresh gossip, and the conversation naturally turned to the topic of Lin Wanyu. "Have you heard that Wanyu has already inherited the family business?" "Not yet. The Yanchi Empire is too huge, so she decided to gain experience on the side first. She opened her own small company, and although it's been a year, things are going just fine," Wang Fugui boasted smugly, trying to impress. The rest of the classmates looked at each other in surprise, and someone from the crowd immediately threw out a provocative question. "So, Fugui, have you succeeded in conquering our impregnable goddess during this time?" The conceit was just pouring out of him as he smiled triumphantly in response. "Of course, my parents are already having dinner with her family, so I just have to take the final step," he stated, instantly causing envious sighs from the other guys. I was just standing there at the entrance, wondering whether it was worth getting involved in this circus at all, when suddenly Fugui noticed me. "Zayaba, come sit here." One of the girls waved at me cheerfully, even though we were fierce competitors in school, and Fugui always had a crush on Lin Wanyu. Oddly enough, there wasn't a trace of her former anger on her face. However, after Vanyu and I parted, a trail of absurd rumors followed me for a long time. They said that I secretly hired people to spy on me or went to psychologists, although I didn't give a damn about these speculations. I silently walked deeper into the hall and sat down in an empty seat next to the guys. "So, Zayarabai, after Wanyu dumped you, have you found someone else?" Wang Fugui immediately put in his 2 cents, causing my fingers to involuntarily clench into fists. We parted in a completely civilized manner, but this company happily twisted everything in its own way. fervently believing in its own inventions for the sake of self-affirmation. If it weren't for the broadcast on the monitor, I would never have come here, but since I came, I'll have to play out this farce to the end. As soon as I opened my mouth, Wang Fugui burst into a sarcastic laugh. Well, of course, after seeing such an amazing girl like Wanjiu, how can you look at anyone else? Just don't set the bar too high, Xiaobai, otherwise with such demands you risk remaining a bachelor for the rest of your days. He continued to shower you with cheap moralizing. It's easy to talk about self-knowledge when you're rich, but I'm just a guy from the provinces who doesn't have their lordly manners. Wang Fugui was clearly trying to steal the show and was about to change the picture on the monitor, but then the class president, Wang Hao, intervened. Wang Hao enjoyed authority among the guys, and besides, he was supported by Lin Wanyu herself, so no one was in a hurry to argue with him. Since we're here, let's avoid cheap jokes, Wang Hao said calmly, instantly putting the presumptuous Fugui in his place. Fugui's face twisted with annoyance because he clearly expected to look like the main triumph of the evening. But here some headman was stealing all the laurels. You're being too coddling with this Jiang Xiaobai, Fugui muttered, trying to shift the focus to personal relationships. Watch out that you yourself aren't suspected of some kind of romantic relationship. Wang Hao clearly didn't expect such direct rudeness and was a little confused, but I understood perfectly well what this jerk was getting at. We'll figure out the monitor somehow without your advice, but you and Lin Wanyu are unlikely to ever cross paths, I replied coldly. And anyway, let me refresh your memory. It was I who abandoned Lin Wanyu, not she who abandoned me, in case you suddenly forgot. Wang Fugui's face turned purple with anger. I thought you were a decent guy, but a year has passed, and you still can't forget a woman I didn't even deign to notice. Well, that's a different story, I chuckled, watching him shake with rage. Everyone remembers how you used to follow us around like a dog while we were dating. My words hit the mark and Wang Fugui completely lost control of himself. I'll just tear your mouth apart today for such words. He suddenly leaned forward, swinging his fist at me, and although I instinctively tried to back away, my reaction failed me at the most inopportune moment. At a critical moment, someone's graceful and strong hand firmly grabbed my shoulder, instantly pulling me back. A familiar, subtle, refreshing, cool scent of perfume immediately reached my sense of smell. I immediately understood who it was, but not a single drop of anger stirred inside me. On the contrary, everything happened exactly as Lin Wanyu had planned. Are you okay? Came the calm and confident voice of the very girl for whom this whole performance had been staged today. Stunned, Wang Fugui froze mid-sentence, staring at the figure that suddenly appeared. The crowd behind us instantly fell silent, digesting this sudden turn of events. I simply stood a little behind, feeling a reliable support and watching how all the self-confidence of the main braggart of the evening collapsed. This evening was clearly going to be much more interesting than I had originally expected, and the cards were dealt exactly as I needed them to be. Feeling a familiar presence nearby, I no longer felt the slightest irritation towards the fake faces surrounding me. All the details of this plan fell into place, and now all that remained was to watch the performance that we were performing together with Lin Wanyu to the end. I don't know if it's an illusion, but I always felt like there was a special, indescribable care in his gaze and voice. Everything's fine, I say, shaking my head slightly. Turning to Wang Fugui, who once overindulged when entering college, he coldly says, "You have forgotten my warnings. All those boastful stories about our parents allegedly having dinner together are nothing more than cheap lies, and he doesn't intend to fall for them anymore." All the arrogance suddenly vanished from Fugui's face and his words became confused in a frightened muttering. "Wanyu, that is, Senior Wanyu, that's not what I meant at all. Listen, let me explain." Lin Wanyu doesn't even let him finish, cutting him off in a cold tone. "Please address me formally. If it weren't for this incident, we wouldn't even know each other." What kind of familiarity can we talk about here? Fugui is completely embarrassed, and the atmosphere in the room is heating up to the limit. They try to push the village chief Wang Hao into the background so that he can resume his usual role, but Lin Wanyu only briefly says, "Sit down and eat," ignoring any attempts to continue this farce. "Look at me, do you still want to stay here?" I ask. "No, not at all," I shake my head without hesitation. "Then let's go home." And so, arm in arm with Lin Wanyu, we demonstratively leave this restaurant. I can clearly feel how the eyes of Wang Fugui and his henchmen burned with envy and malice as they looked after us at that moment. Even though Lin Wanyu's manners are sometimes very different from mine, damn it, This feeling of absolute triumph right now is worth a lot. As I settle into the passenger seat of the car, I can't help but ask, when you were in college, you warned Fugui. Why didn't you tell me then? Before, I naively thought that Fugui was simply tired of bullying me, and I didn't even suspect that Lin Wanyu was behind it. He himself remained silent, and I was afraid to ask again. For a long time, it seemed to me that he knew perfectly well about Fugui's persecution, but simply chose to remain indifferent, and from this understanding, my ardent heart gradually froze. This time, Lin Wanyu breaks the silence. Noticing my confusion, he sighs heavily. Firstly, there was no immediate need for it. Secondly, I didn't want to create any unnecessary psychological strain for you. Besides, believe me, I have my own methods. Yes, in those days I was unbearably sensitive. On the one hand, I desperately longed for Lin Wanyu to be by my side, but on the other, I was terrified of becoming a burden to him. Next to him, so flawless and strong, I always felt like an awkward girl who did nothing but get underfoot. Because of this, my soul was torn apart by cats, and I was overcome by a dull, inexplicable melancholy. If I'd known a year ago that things would turn out exactly this way, would I still have pushed his hand away? Unfortunately, the past can't be undone. Lost in my thoughts, I was messing around in the old kitchen, trying to cook dinner to somehow distract myself from the difficult memories. Having finished cooking, I picked up a piece of the dish with my chopsticks and offered it to him. "Try it. Is it delicious?" Though in reality, the answer was already written in my own heart. I remember my student days, seeing Lin Wanyu studying hard all night long. I would secretly bring her homemade soup. Then I'd timidly ask if she liked it, and she'd just reply indifferently, "It's fine." And you couldn't tell if it was the soup itself or if it was just her eternal coldness. Or in those little gifts I tried to give her, the answer was always the same, those memories of Lin Wanyu again. It's okay, I thought, my vision blurring slightly as tears welled up. No matter what I did back then, it was always wrong for him. But suddenly my thoughts are interrupted by his quiet voice. "Very tasty. Honestly, I didn't expect you to cook so well." For the first time in a long time, I heard such sincere praise from him. Even though it was the most ordinary phrase, for some reason it immediately made my nose tingle. Meeting his gaze, I notice a slight confusion on Lin Wanyu's usually calm face. Is this answer still not satisfactory to me? He's clearly trying to find the right words to smooth things over. "Jiang Xiaobai, you're a master at making things difficult for yourself." How could I possibly follow him with his icy tone and clumsy attempts to show concern? I smile bitterly, feeling the first tears roll down my cheeks, but then lift my chin proudly. Of course, I'm doing great. After dinner, Lin Wanyu silently takes the initiative and starts washing the dishes. Seeing how unusually well he's doing in the kitchen, a faint smile automatically touches my lips. What's going on with me? Suddenly, the realization comes that now is the best age to stop hiding in corners and finally stay close to him. Wanting to lighten the mood a little, I flick the TV remote, turning on my favorite movie, and sit closer, offering to watch it together. We're laughing together at the funny mods on camera, and at some point I just can't take it anymore. I press pause. I turn to him. "What would you say if it suddenly turned out that I have an incurable disease?" I say in a breaking voice, unable to find the strength to look him straight in the eyes. Lin Wanyu stretched out his hand and lightly tapped my forehead with his finger. "Stop talking nonsense." For some reason, this unexpected light click made my heart do a somersault, and my eyes stung with tears again. He really does care about me, right? It's just that before, I only saw his impenetrable armor and completely refused to notice his true feelings. Barely holding back the sobs that are rising, I feel him take my hand and gently stroke my forehead with his thumb, transferring warmth from my skin straight to my heart. Blinking rapidly, I drive away the tears and look into Lin Wanyu's eyes. "Well, can you answer me now? What question do you want to hear the answer to?" This time, Lin Wanyu answers without the slightest hesitation. "So pure and sincere. I remember that woman who helped you move the other day. I saw her with another man." My fingers involuntarily clench. "You mean Jiang Liwei? Isn't it natural for her to date a guy?" Lin Wanyu's brow furrowed in confusion. "You don't like her? What does she have to do with it? I'm more concerned with something else entirely." Choking with excitement, I finally catch my breath and look straight at Lin Wanyu, mentally reminding myself that Jiang Liwei is actually my half-sister. Our parents were simple working people. After my father's death, her mother remarried, uniting our families. He still remained with his family, and although our villages were neighbors, relations between us were always rather strained. Well then, Lin Wanyu said, looking me intently in the face. He seemed to notice very quickly the resemblance between my features and Jiang Liwei, he continued. In other words, the very night you broke up with me, I went to the movies with your sister. Otherwise, a movie ticket costs a pretty penny, and I couldn't let it go to waste if you didn't come. I blurted it out automatically, but as soon as the words left my lips, I realized I'd said something stupid. Didn't you say you had a lot to do that day? That's exactly why I didn't come. Meeting my confused look, Lin Wanyu continued to explain. That day, when the curator kept me until 10 in the evening, I really refused you. But I still couldn't resist asking a friend at the reception to give you an extra ticket. So, when you approached the cinema entrance, you accidentally saw Jiang Liwei and me entering the hall together. And after the session, I decided I'd had enough and suggested we break up. And you agreed. When I heard this, I didn't even know whether to laugh or cry. It all turned out to be a simple misunderstanding. But it was precisely this that caused our breakup. Returning to my room, I'm angry at the whole world, fall onto the bed, and silently wipe away my tears, feeling the resentment burning inside me. And it's not Lin Wanyu's fault at all. I blame myself first and foremost. Deep down, I understand the truth perfectly well. Even without that ridiculous incident with Jiang Liwei, our breakup was only a matter of time. My sister played the role of a small spark that ignited a powder keg. After that frank conversation between Lin Wanyu and me, something subtly changed, although outwardly everything remained the same and we still lacked a simple mutual understanding. I absent-mindedly trace my pencil across the paper, returning to reality, and place a cup of warm water on the table, in which a few tea leaves lazily sway, just like the one my grandfather brewed. As a child, I didn't pay much attention to this, but because of my habit of constantly stealing tea from my grandfather, I myself began to like tossing a couple of leaves into the water. By the way, come to think of it, why did Du Zeitung and I get along so well? It was largely due to our similar habits and silent understanding. And one of our main common traits is a passion for good tea. A light tea aroma is great, but you shouldn't brew it too strong, I like to teach Du Zeitung. Most of my habits were inherited from my grandfather, but when asked where I got my craving for certain little things, I usually joked, remembering my sister. She was always sending me funny videos of cats and eventually got me hooked on that cat cafe, even though I had previously been completely indifferent to cats. I don't know how clear this chain is from the outside, but now all the puzzles in my head have come together. Deciding that I couldn't sit back any longer, I grabbed the phone and dialed Du Zeitung's number, hoping to ask for help. But the subscriber was out of range. We'd only seen each other a couple of times, and that left a nagging feeling in my chest. I was determined to find him, and the first thing that came to my mind was to go straight to him. I wonder if this is his girlfriend's rented apartment. While I was waiting for a taxi by the side of the road, I happened to bump into Wang Hao, rushing about his business. He was completely different from the man he'd been the day we met. This time, he looked incredibly happy, literally beaming with positivity. Did something good really happen? I asked him. He nodded with a beaming smile. My mother used to be sick, and I was fired from my last job because of constant salary delays. I was beside myself with fear of being left broke, but a few days ago I unexpectedly received a substantial job offer. They offered me double my salary. Wow, congratulations, I'm genuinely happy for you. Wang Hao is a hard-working and strong guy, but his excessive honesty often prevented him from getting what he deserved, but now justice had prevailed, and we laughed joyfully together. By the way, I should thank you, he suddenly announced. Why? I was taken aback, slightly confused. Well, the Yan Group took me on, and everyone knows Lin Wanyu is its heir. When I was still in college, I've always believed that in life you need to rely solely on your own strength, but now, through my own experience, I've realized the importance of the right connections. Xiaobai, I didn't even send my resume there because I was sure that with my experience they wouldn't even consider me. And there was no doubt Lin Wanyu, who had gotten me into the company, was behind it all. And the reason lay in those long-ago student years. Little by little, I started to come to my senses, although after the recent class reunion, my self-esteem was seriously undermined, but the truth is, Xiaobai. He always watched over me invisibly and did far more for me than he seemed. It only dawned on me when Wang Hao told me the whole truth. Lin Wanyu truly sacrificed so much for me. I've just been blind all along and haven't noticed it. Panic overtakes me, worrying for Du Zeitung, and I race full speed to his house, hoping to confirm my worst suspicions. Here's the very apartment where his girlfriend lives. The door is ajar. Glancing inside, I take note of the furnishings. Thank God, visually everything looks calm, and I breathe a sigh of relief. When I stepped through the door and saw Du Zeitung's condition, my heart sank with anxiety again. His eyes were red, and he looked like he was completely exhausted. The always energetic and nimble Du Zeitung now sat completely dejected, having lost all his vitality. Seeing him in such a broken state was painful. I instinctively put my hand on his shoulder and quietly asked, "Zeitung, what happened?" "I just fell in love," his weak, trembling voice reached me. I really wanted some strawberry cake, so Li Xia ran out to buy it, but as soon as she returned with the order, he immediately dumped me. I have so many plans for our house. He's just like you, always demanding a better place to live. I even got him an expensive bag, but he threw it back, angry that I supposedly didn't appreciate his gifts. "But I'm disgusted by these ostentatious brands," Du Zeitung continued to complain, wiping his face. After listening to his confused story, I finally began to piece together the overall picture of what was happening. "Zeitung, do you understand? That strawberry cake you're obsessed with is only made in the neighboring district, and delivery simply doesn't go there. Li Shi didn't have any extra money for a taxi. She had to drag herself there on foot across the entire city, and just now she went into the next room to calmly catch her breath. She simply clearly understood that not everything you want falls from the sky into your hands, be it luxurious houses or expensive bags. You're just dating, and the gifts you give her are too precious to return," I continued softly. "She's angry not because she doesn't care about your attention, but because you always brush off her gifts in return, even though I know you never throw anything away. I saw how carefully you tuck every little thing away in the far corner of the closet and then sneakily take them out just to look." After hearing my words, Du Zeitung was stunned, and his face suddenly turned deep red again. He couldn't utter a word, but I could see in his eyes that it had finally dawned on him. He and Li Xia hadn't fallen out of love with each other, they were simply confused by their own misunderstandings, just like Lin Wanyu and I. Proud and withdrawn, vulnerable and overly sensitive, one doesn't know how and doesn't want to explain himself, while the other is always getting worked up over trifles. It's obvious they both truly love each other, but they nearly destroyed everything with their own hands. After waiting for Du Zeitung's emotional storm to subside a bit, I helped him get himself together and was about to lift him to his feet and leave when I suddenly turned around at the threshold. Lin Wanyu and Li Xia stood right at the door. "Sorry, Xia," Du Zeitung said quietly as he approached. "It was I who was wrong, my pride led to no good," she sobbed. "No, I'm good too, I should have been more patient." Instead of completely destroying everything, they simply hugged tightly, deciding to stay together. I turned my gaze to Lin Wanyu, who was standing next to me. "Let's go home," he said quietly, and I nodded obediently. Walking next to him and feeling his reliable hand in mine, I suddenly clearly understood one thing. I didn't need to torture Du Zeitung with questions. I could get all the answers directly from Lin Wanyu. We decided not to get in the car. Instead, I chose to walk. Lin Wanyu held my hand tightly, and we walked for a long time through the evening streets until we finally reached home, and then I couldn't bear it anymore. "Lin Wanyu," I broke the silence. "Tell me honestly, it wasn't a coincidence that Du Zeitung and I met, was it? Now I understand that such coincidences simply don't happen." The same company where I got a job a couple of days ago and where Du Zeitung got a job, it was all part of some plan. I like drinking tea and so does he. I like going to cat cafes and he shares that passion. And Du Zeitung didn't rent the apartment nearby without his family's help. Or rather, with your help, I blurted out, looking at him. Lin Wanyu merely nodded silently in response. "You're always daydreaming and underestimating your own strength. When I wasn't around, someone needed to keep an eye on you so you didn't screw up again," he admitted calmly. So it turns out he deliberately brought Du Zeitung and me together, making us bosom friends. I wanted to always have someone reliable by my side, someone who could support and care for me. This realization brought a lump to my throat and my eyes instantly filled with tears. I clumsily punched him in the chest, muttering through rising sobs, "Idiot. Why do you always do everything silently? Why didn't you speak up before?" My voice trembled betrayingly. And he just, with a habitual movement, carefully pinched the corner of my eye, wiping the salty trail from my cheek. I looked down, biting my lip until it hurt, and felt the last barriers crumbling inside me. There was no point in hiding anymore, so I quietly snuck after Lin Wanyu straight into his bedroom, not even trying to pretend that I didn't care. "This time you've been caught completely," I whispered quietly in the darkness of the room. "So what are you going to do to me now? Well, you don't have to answer. I'll take any punishment." And in the end, what difference does it make which of us was the first to admit defeat, if now we are finally truly together?